So what are you drinking? What's on the menu tonight?
I have a Stone Tangerine Express Hazy IPA. It's a new one. I haven't had it yet. I want to try something different. So this is my first sip of it.
That sounds pretty nice, actually.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Do you prefer being called Ducky or Nathan?
Nathan. It's always weird when people call me Ducky, like verbally. I see it in comments all the time, but like especially people I see on a day-to-day basis when they call me Ducky, it's like, oh, hold on. I'm a person, but
I'm a real boy.
I'm a real guy. That's my nose gets really long.
Did people call you Ducky in school? I'm interested to know where the Ducky name comes from.
It actually came from a nickname, a friend of, I can't remember who it came from. I know a friend of mine called me that a lot. And then that friend group just started saying it, all of them at the same time. And so it kind of stuck. And then when it came to me making the YouTube channel, I don't actually remember why I picked it, but I'm like, Ducky3D kind of sounds nice. It rolls off the tongue, so let's do it. Little did I know it would be now the name of my company, but it works. Well, I failed to mention Duck is also my last name.
Yeah,
so that's why they called me.
It's not a strange surname, but it's not a very common surname.
Yeah. I don't actually know. I've never taken like a DNA test. I know a lot of people with the last name Duck came through Ellis Island in New York when they immigrated. There's a bunch of them in that kind of immigration book. That's kind of the only info I have. I need to look into it. I've just never actually like ordered the DNA test and been like, there we go. But
Well, would you like a bit of history on your name?
I would love it, honestly. I don't even know, like, if someone's like, hey, what is, like, I don't even know if I'm like, what if I'm part Irish? I'm probably English for the most part. Like, it'd be funny if, like, I had, like,
well, I hate to break it to you, but I think you might be part English.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. That was pretty obvious. But like, I don't even know what like my family history is even far back at all. It'd be wild. I don't know if you've heard of any of those horror stories where people will take a DNA test and they realize their dad isn't their biological dad. Dude, that stuff is unbelievable.
So the word duck actually means duke. So it comes from duke, as in you used to get like the Duke of England or the Duke of Cambridge or the Duke of Cheshire in your case. So it has a little bit of gravitas to its name. So it means duke.
Okay, cool.
That's it. That's the early origins of the duck family. So obviously it got changed over the generations. If you're going back to American history, it actually started in 1657, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
And this was John Duck who settled in New England in 1654. So
I have a second cousin. I actually have a second cousin named John Duck.
So there you go. Every day's a learning day.
Yeah.
So how is life in general? How are you doing?
Awesome. I can't complain. I don't talk about it too much, but I'm in college right now and I'm almost done. I'm freaking so close to being graduated. So it's kind of like what I'm focusing, like half of my life is focusing on finishing that. And the other half is kind of running the Ducky3D craziness. Like today I released a course and that's been kind of a crazy 2 weeks, having to get up like an hour early, get all that work done. So it's kind of like a easy day for me today, just to kind of have that released and just chill out.
So what are you studying in college?
Graphic design. I actually just chose graphic design before the YouTube channel got big. That my plan was to get a graphic design degree, go work at a design agency and, do that kind of thing, or freelance if that was possible. And then in my first year of college, the YouTube channel kind of blew up. And then now I kind of do this. I have no plans of actually using my degree, but I was so close. It's like, I'm not going to bail out now. And it's been a fun little challenge to do YouTube and making tools and courses while doing a college degree at the same time. But I've been able to do it. So it's not impossible.
So what do your peers think in college about your YouTube channel? Because surely you must see them. Have you seen my YouTube channel yet?
There's a couple that know about it. I try to keep it on the down low just because I feel so like braggadocious talking about it, because it's a very weird thing to be sitting in a college classroom while at the same time emailing NVIDIA about a brand deal. you know, so bizarre.
I don't know if
Yeah,
you know, but I'm a bit of a big deal.
yeah. And so it's like the things that my peers talk about and the things that they're concerned about are drastically different than the things that I'm concerned about. And it's it's so I tend to just go to school and then leave as quickly as possible because got to get back to work. But but most of them think it's really cool. I've never gotten like a weird reaction. Even that school, they said about 1 or 2 semesters they're going to start teaching Blender, so they want me to come back and guest speak. So that'll be kind of weird, but it'll be fun.
What's your plans after college?
Keep doing exactly what I'm doing. Just I right now my focus on like how can I ramp up what I'm doing. Working on improving the tool that I have, which is the real-time materials. Kind of working on that. What's the next course? It's really just now I have more time to pour into more YouTube tutorials, getting better at what I'm doing, and I have an employee as well, so it's like working with her and trying to see how much farther I can expand the Ducky3D brand and keep growing it. I looked at the Blender roadmap last night and I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much more expanding Blender has to do. So there's just going to be so much more people, joining Blender, which means people are going to learn, which means all of our YouTube channels are going to be growing. So I think it's not out of the question if I could possibly hit 500 in like 3 years. So it's kind of thinking about that and what can I do with that.
At the moment, you have 289 uploads. You have 283,000 subscribers. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's pretty weird. It's still kind of a surreal thing. And
do you have that? Do you have that silver play button hanging on the wall?
Oh yeah, it's right behind me. It used to be in some of the corner of the YouTube videos, but then I moved and I don't have a spot by my desk. So I think maybe in the new place, because I'm moving again, I might have a spot to put it that's in the video, but I don't know if I want to do that.
At the moment, you're also at 20 million views. 20 million in 2,881. As you can tell, I'm on Social Blade at the moment.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I'm just looking.
The funniest thing about Social Blade is how weird they say how much money like the different YouTubers make. Because I've had discussions with the other guys, and it's like, Jesus, they have no idea how to gauge that metric.
Yeah, I generally have what the top end value says.
Yeah, pretty much the way. If anyone is curious what YouTubers are making, it'll vary, but it's about $5,000 per million views. And it's close to that for everyone, unless you get demonetized, which it's Blender tutorials. None of us are getting demonetized. So that's kind of, Social Blade, if they just used that metric, it would be drastically more accurate. Some website valued my channel at $97,000. Like if I were to sell the channel, that'd be how much it's worth. From a business standpoint, that's really low.
From a business perspective, yes. But to sell the channel, you are the channel. Does that make sense?
Correct. It would never work. If any other face came on here and were like, hi, I'm the new Ducky. I'm selling this course. No one would buy it. It would be so bizarre. I would have to personally co-sign it.
So the value is technically you. It's not really the channel per se.
Yeah. Which is pretty cool. It's kind of a cool thing to be somebody that has some kind of value. Because I know growing up, I don't know what your experience as a child was, but I didn't have a lot of things that made me feel valuable. So growing up and making something that a lot of people love is pretty cool. Like a YouTube channel that people want to come back to and learn from. It's a very proud moment.
You've kind of briefly touched on the point. How did you get into 3D? What made you think, I'm going for 3D and I'm going to set up a YouTube channel?
So in my last 2 years of high school, I was in a special program so I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana. And so there was a special school in downtown New Orleans for creatives. You had to audition to get in. And so I was in the film program. So those last 2 years, me and a friend of mine, his name was Jansen, we were pretty good friends throughout those 2 years. And he got his hands on Cinema 4D. And he was playing around with it. We talked about it a lot. I watched him use it a lot. At the time, I was a big fan of Beeple and Hodes on Instagram. I was very aware of the 3D space and 3D art, and I was really fascinated by it. And when I graduated, I was listening to the Grayscale Gorilla podcast. Grayscale Gorilla is one of the leading companies in terms of courses and assets and really cool materials and stuff like that. I love the company. And they were talking about Blender, and they kind of offhandedly were like, yeah, Blender, they try to do everything, but they have a GPU render engine and they have like a video. They were very nonchalantly like kind of talking it by. They weren't saying too many great things about it, but they weren't being mean. And so I heard it. I was like, let me look into this. Because at that time, I drastically wanted a GPU render engine that I didn't have to pay for, because I didn't have any money at the time. I had just graduated high school. It was my gap year. I was looking for a college to go to. So I downloaded Blender, and I remember right when I hit the render button, that was my first experience with the GPU render engine, and I was hooked. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And so that's kind of how I got into 3D. It was just kind of goofing around, and then I slowly taught myself Blender and having fun with it.
You taught yourself Blender, but obviously yes, there would have been people you would have been drawn to in terms of YouTube, because you would have had to have learned it somewhere. So who did you pick up from at the beginning? Who was your favorite YouTuber back in the day?
Gleb Alexandrov is the first one that comes to mind. I freaking love him. I love him as a personality. I love him as an artist. I love his videos, and I think I've watched close to every video he's made, and I loved his style. I loved what he was doing. I think the second one is his art pseudonym is Mantisa. I only say that because I have trouble with his actual name. It's like Midge Cianave. I think that's how it might be pronounced, Midge Cianave, but it's Midge or Mantisa. And I learned primarily from like most of my stuff that I loved, and when I was first getting into it, was from him, because he did motion graphics, and that's what I loved. And so I would watch his like 1-2 hour streams. They were all re-uploads, and so much information packed in his videos. I talk to him frequently, and he's freaking awesome. I think I owe a lot of what I like, my early style in Blender, to him.
So you're a prodigy.
Oh yeah. I wish I could have I wish I actually knew him personally and I could like ask him questions, but it was just like watching those videos, learning. And then after that, I think it's been probably 2 years since I've regularly watched tutorials. So it's been a long time since I've gone back to his videos, or really anybody's videos, because now it's just sort of like, I think once you get to a certain point, you just start learning things. And then now I had to go back and watching tutorials when geometry nodes came out, because I know nothing about that. And I'm not those guys on Twitter who just know how things work.
You're not an Erndale.
I'm not. I can't be one of those guys. So I have to watch from them and watch YouTube videos, and then I'll get my own ideas, and then I'll make tutorials and stuff like that.
Switch the conversation up just a little bit. If you never went down the graphics design route, or if you never got into 3D, what would you actually do?
I would probably get into business of some sort, like real estate, something like that, where like I know I can build a future with that, and I know it's a really good business to get into. So maybe like real estate, or even I would get into like artist management. So like be a tour manager, be an artist manager, work at a record label. I think that would be really fun too.
You're into video photography as well? You like your video cameras?
That's what I did before I did 3D. For like 3 or 4 years, I was a videographer and a photographer. So I would shoot concerts and things like that. I never made money from it. But that's why I went to film school, was I was really interested in that stuff. And my parents were like, hey, there's this school you can audition to. You should look into this. And so, and I was homeschooled. So I never went out for school. I stayed home for school. And so that was my first time like actually going out and learning. And then it was really fun, because I would be able to go around New Orleans and take photos and take video and get into that. And I was always into the abstract side of anything, because I make abstract art now. And it's like, before that, in my footage, I would kind of mess with the color, and the trees would be purple instead of green. And I remember screwing around with After Effects for hours, trying to figure out how to make my face melt, stuff like that.
Watching Video Copilot. How do I do this?
Oh yeah, dude. Andrew Kramer. I'm sure because I have a way I talk when I'm making videos, and I have a way I talk when I'm just myself. I'm sure Andrew Kramer is some form of inspiration that I'm not intentionally doing. Like, hey, what's up, guy? It's like stuff like that's like, Jesus, dude. Paved the way for the tutorial voice.
He paved the way for a lot of things, to be honest. He showed that you could make money doing it.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I had no idea that I could make a career out of teaching. It's like, man, and I've did some research recently. There is a lot of money in online education. And like that, like college in art, going to college for art is going to be a less and less popular thing in the next coming years because I'm seeing like people at my school, they're going there for photography or they're going there for illustration. I don't think that's a very good idea. I think it's a good idea if you're going to college for, you're learning how to design websites or like personally, I'm there for graphic design. That's a pretty corporate job, graphic design. So you're going to need a degree for it. But like, dude, if you're an illustrator, the only thing that matters is your artwork. So like it's a way better use of your time to watch a course. And I think people are learning that now. And so there's so much money in taking your expertise and making YouTube videos, making Skillshare courses, or learning some form of entrepreneurship and then making online courses is a really good bet if you're really good at something.
It's kind of strange that you mentioned that you were homeschooled.
Yeah.
Was there a reason behind that, or did your parents just think school shit? We'll teach you.
No, that was my mom really just wanted to homeschool us. I think she wasn't a big fan of everything that the school system taught or how they did things like that. And she wanted to be able to kind of have a say in what we're doing, what we're experiencing. So, we got a really good curriculum. I mean, I make A's and B's in all my college classes, so it certainly wasn't bad for grades, anything like that. In fact, I probably wouldn't be doing what I do now if I wasn't homeschooled because I had time to get into something that I liked. But I think for the most part, my mom wanted to kind of have a pretty major say in what in our early on, like what we were experiencing, what we were learning and things like that. I think that's the biggest reason why we were homeschooled. So I was able to, my school bus was the stairs.
Mom, I'm going to be late for school. Why? I'm sleeping.
Oh, dude, I got in trouble if I slept in. It was the rule was if I slept in past 7 o'clock, no breakfast. So I had to get up if I was hungry.
Was it not a hard life bringing up, but were they very strict? But your parents, did they set the rules and you had to stick to it? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it was my brother. He was the one that usually disobeyed all the rules. I've always been I've always been a very much a rule follower. But yeah, my parents weren't overly strict or very very overly protective. But yeah, we definitely had rules in our house, and like, I grew up to not disrespect my parents, and my dad is the reason like I have a really good work ethic because he was more strict than my mom, and my dad had nothing to do with in terms of teaching me school. For the most part, he helped me with math, but that was, it was my mom was the teacher and my dad was kind of the enforcer, but he was very hard on me. Like if I made bad grades frequently, he'd sit me down and I would get a long lecture. He would lecture me about, make sure this school is helping you with your future. It was all out of love. My dad was an incredible dad and he was really hard on me growing up just to be like, hey, you need to take your life seriously. You need to take your school seriously and don't be stupid and all that kind of stuff. And it worked. I grew up to be fairly responsible and use my time wisely and work hard. So yeah, definitely fairly strict. I had no idea how it was compared to other families because I didn't have a whole lot of friends growing up. But when I grew up and I started like doing odd jobs, I saw like a pretty significant difference between like my work ethic versus other people's work ethic. And I was like, oh damn, my dad really was hard on me.
Yeah, but it paid dividends.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I when I have kids, I'm gonna be talking to him. I was like, all right, what do I do when my son does this? He's like, he'll have an answer,
Yeah, honestly, once you have kids, everything changes. Everything changes.
Oh yeah. I want to have kids, but I'm perfectly fine waiting quite a while for that.
Yeah, I would wait till you're about 30.
Yeah, that's how long my parents waited. They waited for a while before they had us.
So we've touched on your very homeschooling. We've touched on college stuff like this. What's your best YouTube tutorial?
Oh my god.
Well, the questions are coming out now.
All right, hold on. Let me look at my quote unquote discography here.
Let me grab another beer then.
Yeah, I think there's like a big difference between my most popular ones and my best ones. Because the pretty annoying thing about making content is videos that you're super passionate about sometimes flop pretty hard.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
So like the most popular one, the 70s style animation loop, that one's got 700,000 views, but I don't really care much for that one. But there's ones, I think my text tutorials are the ones I'm most passionate about. I love those. Those might be my best, in my opinion. And some of like the abstract loops, I love like the loops, which I guess I'm known for now. Those are some of my favorites. But it's like I have close to 300 videos. It's pretty impossible to pick like what's my best tutorial. It's funny when I scroll through these and like remember kind of what was going on in my life when I made some of these. So that's kind of fun to look through. But yeah, it's weird.
What's your worst tutorial?
What's my worst tutorial?
You must have one you think that's shit.
I'll tell you which one was my worst tutorial. It was the add-on Extreme PBR was asked me to make. They paid me to make a kind of review for the add-on, and this was back like early days of the channel. I had maybe 50,000 subscribers, and which is a lot. I'm downplaying it, but it was a lot.
Yeah. So, fuck, just 50,000.
Yeah, but I wasn't that. I've never been inclined to use image textures, and so I'm obsessed with procedural textures, and so I wasn't super well versed in the workflow, and so they're like, "Hey, just make a video, do whatever you want." And so I made a video with Extreme PBR, and I basically like textured a whole room, and within the first hour, I deleted the video because I don't even remember what I did wrong, but apparently I sucked so bad at using those image textures. I didn't get one good comment. And there were about 10 or 15 just people being like, "What are you doing?" And so I deleted it and refunded them like the $700 that they paid me or whatever it was. Which, dude, it hurt. But I was like, I can't keep this video up. I'm so sorry. And so I refunded them. And I'm sure they're never going to talk to me again.
Is that why you released your own procedural texture?
Oh, yeah.
Pack?
I was like, I got to do my own thing now. 2 years later. But yeah, that's the word. The worst tutorial doesn't exist. I wish I still had it. I'd probably send it to you. You'd probably get a good laugh out of it. But it was pretty bad, apparently. I spent like 2 or 3 days working on it. It was a bummer.
So your real-time materials has 900 sales. That's not bad.
It's a little bit. Yeah, it's got. There's also a couple. I think there's a couple people in Gumroad that got it as well. So I'm blown away by the actual response to it. It's my favorite thing I've ever made in terms of like a paid product. Yeah, it's a cool pack. I mean, I'm not going to gas it up, but
it's very rare plugins. I think I need to buy that, and I think one of yours thought, yeah, that would actually be pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a passion project. That pack is something I had like kind of thought about for about a year and a half. And I finally was able to kind of get a hold of somebody who knew how to turn it into an add-on. And now it's like, hit Shift A, scroll down, bloop, bloop, it's in there. So the big struggle was, because what I didn't like about the Blender workflow was if you wanted to put an already made procedural material, you would have to go to the append, and then you would have to find the file, then click it, and then you'll navigate over to the shader workspace and then apply it to your model. And coming from someone who's passionate about user experience, that's terrible. So I was able to kind of turn it into an add-on with the friend. You know who Sir Yoshi is on Twitter?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did it. And he was able to kind of just hit Shift A, scroll down, and apply it. And I was like, oh my God. So that's what kind of separates it from just like your regular procedural pack. I mean, one of the things.
You're coming up to your 300th video. Are you going to do anything special for it?
To be honest, I had no idea until you just said that.
Panic.
What's the exact number I'm at?
283, I believe. Let me double check that.
God. What would be crazy if I hit 300 videos and 300,000 subscribers at the same time?
In fact, dude, even less, 289 video uploads. But
yeah,
you've technically deleted a couple of them.
Yeah, there's a couple unlisted. But yeah, I've probably made close to 500 videos, because Patreon, there's quite a few videos on there. I do at least 2 a month, and so
see, I actively avoid Patreon because
it was cool when I started. Patreon's awesome. It could be a burden if you don't do it right, because
Yeah.
I specifically made the Patreon to just be a way that I dump all the stuff I don't use back. Because what happened is like I make a lot of videos, and some of them I know for a fact no one is going to watch, but there's really good content in it. Because the thing about YouTube is if the concept isn't interesting, you're not going to get any views on it. And so that's one thing that I think great about the Patreon is like I'd have made the video already. So I'll just give it to the Patreon people who are already there paying. So they're definitely going to watch it. So like that's how I'm able to not kind of overwork myself. But some people, when they start a Patreon, they're like, I'm gonna do this, 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 and this on top of what I'm already doing. It's like, good luck. You're
Yeah.
gonna overwork yourself.
That's pretty much the whole reason I avoid Patreon completely, because
Yeah.
I don't want to promise something and not deliver on it.
Yeah, it would have to for anyone to actually that they would have to make enough to be happy with. I'm lucky enough to get paid quite a bit from Patreon, so it's worth the time investment. But it took about a year to actually get a good amount of money coming out of Patreon and a lot of advertising. Like I promoted it in every video and it worked out. And so now it's just like I don't have to promote it anymore because there's so many videos.
So 300 video, you doing anything special? No.
Well, now I got to think about it. I'll probably like, oh man, I should probably do something funny because I don't do enough funny things on the channel. And I like to say I have a pretty good sense of humor. So, I'm not Ian Hubert, but I'd love to do something funny for that. That'd be great.
So
Yeah.
quickly picking up, who do you follow on YouTube now? Now you mentioned people you followed away back in the day. Who do you watch these days?
Pretty much in terms of Blender, pretty much everybody. Curtis Holt, CG Matter. We got, of course, Blender Guru. There's oh man, there's so many. I follow a ton of like really small creators. What I'll do is I'll just YouTube search Blender tutorial, and then I'll filter it like past 5 months, 4 months, and then I'll find just the really small creators and watch their videos. Because if anybody wants a little life hack and you can't find anything new to learn, do that because you're actually going to find some pretty cool stuff. And I usually, if I like their content, I'll follow them on Instagram or something. So there's a bunch of people I'm not even remembering right now. Let me see. Can I look at my subscribers here? Who am I subscribed to?
You can do whatever you want, mate.
Let's see. Ask NK, obviously. He pretty much crushes. Polygon Runway. He's awesome.
So like I done the Ask NK interview last week and nobody watched it at all, and I was bitterly disappointed because it's a really good interview, and I have the funny suspicion that this conversation will pretty much go the exact way in terms of views as well.
Yeah, I've done a couple interview videos and they don't do so hot. My recommendation is don't call it Ducky3D interview. Give it a more interesting name. That's the biggest thing about like YouTube is if it doesn't have an interesting name, no one's gonna click on it.
Fuck it, I'll just call it telling Ducky3D to fuck off.
Dude, if you did that and you put like F asterisk asterisk asterisk, you would probably get a lot of views. Like if you actually want to do that, that'd be funny.
Yeah, but that way I was downhearted because the conversation and the interview's really good. Ask NK is he's an excellent person to talk to.
I'm gonna have to watch that.
It's so insightful to see where he's came from to where he is now and stuff like this. And he's got he's dead chill. And nobody watched the video and I'm just like, fuck, what am I doing wrong here? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing. Genuinely good content sometimes goes by the wayside on YouTube, and you have to put things like telling Ducky to F off.
Exactly. But that's how extreme you need to be just to get the clicks.
Correct. That's like that. I mean, that's the thing. That's the struggle about having even like with your YouTube tutorials. Is like I have to figure out a happy medium between making something that looks cool and making something that's educational. Because if all I cared about was only making it only educational, people wouldn't click on it because what would you title it? It's like how to do blah, 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 blah. So I have to title things like words. I have to use words like abstract and loop. I have to use buzzwords and geometry like my new favorite Blender add-on, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. It's like, that's kind of annoying to have to write out, but it comes with the job. And sometimes people call me clickbaity, but they wouldn't have watched it if I didn't put that title in there. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the content's always good. I always follow through on good content. according to most of my comments. But yeah, so I try my best.
I like your confidence there.
Dude, you got to be confident. It's been I grew up with no confidence, so I've had to kind of harness that. But I do believe I make really good content, and I'm super happy with it. But can't make everybody happy. I remember I tweeted out, it was like a couple weeks ago. I said, a culmination of 3 years of reading random hate comments. It's weird how that compounds on each other. So now every time I'm working on a new video, I'm in my head, I'm thinking, okay, what are they gonna what's the one person going to say? Because it's like one comment a video, sometimes two. And then I have to snap out of it. It's like, who am I making content for? Not that guy. So just make what you think is cool. And then usually that video does fine. And then that, just be positive.
I know what the comment in your channel would be. You're getting fat, mate. That's what you get all the time.
Dude, have you seen me talk about that?
I did. I see that.
Dude, it's I've gotten like 5 or 6 comments about me gaining weight. And you know what? It freaking worked. 2 months ago, I went from 185 pounds and I spent 2 months and I went down to 163. And now I'm maintaining 163. Those comments actually got to me.
Fuck these fattists. I'm getting skinny.
Dude, I'm telling you, I like fixed my diet and I went on the incline treadmill for an hour every day, dude. And I killed it. And I'm like super proud of it. Now I'm skinny and I don't get those comments.
What's your thoughts on NFT? Oh,
so
it's one of these.
I like them. My big answer is I like them a lot. I think they're I like them for the reason of it's making artists who otherwise wouldn't have any income a lot of money. It's really cool. I don't really care about the collectors or people in it to flip them. I'm not concerned about that side of NFTs. There's people making a lot of money from like buying Bored Apes and flipping them, or getting CryptoPunks and flipping them for like $2 million. That's crazy. I think it's amazing. I think it's a bubble for sure, but I think it's a signal of what's going to happen in the future. But I think it's a really big blessing for small artists who, if they're smart and they have a business sense, if they can create a brand like did you see the Mechaverse?
Did you say Mecha or Meta?
It was a Mechaverse, like the robots. So yeah, it's a really cool NFT collection from these 3D rendered mechas. It was like 8,000 of them, unique mechas. And so I looked at the creators of them, and it's like they're really talented 3D artists who got together and made 8,000 mechas, and then that became a huge thing, and they made a lot of money on it. And that's super cool to me. Obviously, there's that whole crap about people hating on it because of the environmental effects. And my topic on that is, yeah, it sucks, and I don't like it. I'm waiting for Ethereum 2 to come out, but there's also, I like Tez, Tez, it's how it's spelled. That's pretty environmentally sound. I like Tezos a lot, and that's a really cool platform. I know Mid CNA, if he's on there. A couple other really cool artists are selling their crypto art or their NFTs on the Tezos platform. So like Ethereum
that's what I'm Hen.
Yeah, Hen. And so it's like it was kind of frustrating to see. I'm in the Blender community, so that's all I saw was the big names in the Blender community trashing NFTs because of Ethereum. And it's like they had no idea there are other options. NFTs are not singular to Ethereum. And so NFTs are awesome. I'm all for them, and I think they're amazing. Everything's not perfect, so you're going to have those environmental effects. You're going to have X, Y, Z, but it's in baby stages. It's not going to be perfect.
Blender Guru got a lot of kickback.
He gets kickback from everything he does. He's so big. I kind of feel for the guy sometimes. He can't sit half the time. He can't make a post on Twitter without somebody crapping on him. So he's still going. He's still the biggest. Everyone still loves him. He has his community, but it's really funny to see him post something like when he made so many videos on crypto and people freaking hated it, dude. And at a certain point, I think it was very entertaining to watch.
If I had to ask a question, what would I ask?
What would I ask me?
Yeah, what would you ask yourself?
I don't know. Who's my favorite comedian? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. Who is your favorite comedian?
Dude, I love comedy. Comedy is one of my favorite things because it's corny to say, but my mantra is like try to find something to laugh about every day. So I listen to a lot of comedy. So there's guys like Anthony Jeselnik and Dave Chappelle, Tom Segura. Yeah, those guys are super great. Pretty much any of the guys. What's his name? So bad with names on the cuff. But yeah, Anthony Jeselnik is amazing. Very dark humor.
What about
which I love.
Your old school comedians, your Bill Hicks, Richard Pryor's, you into them?
What's his name? Oh, God, he's a really old comedian, and he has some bits. Like one of his bits was about the fact that if you don't vote, then you're the one who gets to complain about the president, and if you do vote, then you can't complain about the president, which is a really funny premise.
You talking about George Carlin?
Yeah, George Carlin. That's it right there. I love George Carlin. I grew up with my dad watching George Carlin, so I kind of have an attachment to that. And he is just genius, man. He's genuinely funny. And it sucks that comedy like that will probably never happen again.
I think the world's changed so much that it won't happen like that ever again.
Yeah. It's funny that comedy is one of the few art forms where like you can kind of say anything. You are going to get some backlash, but comedy and real comedy fans understand that it's just a joke. So comedians are not going to try to cancel other comedians because they know what's going on. And like, if you can't make a joke about something, then what's the point of speaking? You know what I mean? It's like, there's got to be they know where the line is and they can cross it because at least for me, I cope with things by joking about it. And that's why I like comedy, because it's like, if something bad happens to me, I'll joke about it. And sometimes it's pretty jarring, but like, it's, you know.
What's the future for Ducky3D? What do you see yourself in the next 2-3 years? You've kind of touched on this slightly, so I'm kind of treading reground, but
yeah, next 2 to 3 years is trying to see how far I can go, how many projects I can do. Next couple of years, I really want to work with some brands. I would love to get into like public speaking, like going to these conferences and talking about just whatever I'm interested in. That would be really, really cool. Like SIGGRAPH or something, like just really cool conferences. That would be fun to do. But my main focus is just growing my company, you know, growing the brand, making more videos, learning more. I have like 3 or 4 courses that I've already bought that I haven't watched yet, and like learning a lot more so I can pour it back into the channel and, you know, providing just really good, cool stuff for the Blender community and maybe hire another employee. I'd like to hire an editor at some point. You know, I have a business manager and that's really great to have her because it's hard to do this by myself. Maybe hiring an editor at some point. But it's just like pretty much next 3 years doing what I do now, just at a grander scale, hopefully.
Good luck for all the best for the future. I hope your new shader course turns out very well.
Yeah, thank you, man. Well, yeah, I appreciate it, man. This was fun.
No worries. Yeah, have a nice night, mate. Enjoy your time.
All right, you too, man.
Catch you later. Ciao.